Hello. Thank you for dropping by. Today, I want to share my experiences concerning the occult and demonic. It is a subject that I rarely talk about. Every word is true. The title is The Occult and Demonic. Very few Christians have knowledge of the occult and demons. Their pastors are usually uninformed, uninterested, or unbelieving in this subject. That is why Halloween has become an annual event that is regarded as a fun time for children and adults alike. It is why young people are so easily persuaded to believe that they can have special powers and gifts from Satan. Investigate some of the music performers or Hollywood actors. I'm not going to waste my time on them. If you have been following my channel, then you know that I do not attempt to teach on subjects that I have not personally experienced. So with that in mind, let's begin with Ephesians 6:12. This verse may open some eyes. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Let's look at that for a few minutes. It begins, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Some of the things that we are experiencing in our lives, in our community, in our state, and in our nation are the result of people who have opened themselves up to demonic influence. In many cases, they started out as sincere public servants, but over time they became corrupted. They may still consider themselves to be honest and interested in the better good, but they are not. They have been bought with money, sex, power, and pride. Most people do not believe in a real devil. They think it is a biblical make-believe. All of us recognize his name, Satan, whether you believe in him or not. Few people understand what an influence he has in our lives. Satan is not omnipresent like God. He cannot be everywhere at once, observing and interfering in our lives. To observe, control, and interfere with everyone alive, he needs a hierarchy of help. The last part of Ephesians 6:12 explains who does the work and who we struggle against. It is against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Just as Jesus is the Prince of Peace, Satan is the Prince of Darkness. He has many leaders that he has appointed over regions or countries in our world. These are his principalities. These principalities have demons so powerful that one delayed the help that Daniel prayed for 21 days. See Daniel 10:13. The verse continues, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. The best illustration I can offer is the mafia. Each mafia boss, a prince if you will, has territory, and sub-bosses with underlings under them, and some under them. The verse continues, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Every country has presidents, monarchs, or prime ministers who are at the peak of power in their country. These are the people in high places. If a country has a corrupt leader, he is under the influence of Satan. Here, in the United States, the last administration was the most corrupt anti-God administration that the United States has ever had. We are still learning just how pervasive it was. This did not happen by accident. It took years for Satan to get so many corrupt people in so many positions to work together one evil goal, to destroy this country. Their reward? Money and power and fame. It is why our country is in the civil war right now. It is a battle between good and evil. Yes, I know that we are battling people, which are flesh and blood beings, but the real war is the spirit demons that influence them. With all that said, I will get on with my story. When I was 11 years old, my mother and her sister took me with them to Washington, D.C. to visit a fortune teller. My mother went first for her reading, followed later by her sister. I was not involved at this time. They compared notes in the car as my mother drove home. First, my mother shared what Mr. Whiz told her. Mr. Whiz was the moniker the fortune teller went by. I don't remember what he told her at this time, because he told her sister what would happen to my father. Our visit was in the summer of 1958, and he told my aunt that my father would have an automobile accident on a rainy night in late December, and that he would be killed. That was detailed. He predicted who, what month, the weather, and it would happen at night, and the prediction included my father's death. 5 occurrences occurring at the same time. One rainy night on December 19th, my father was driving his car when his left front tire blew out, sending him to a ditch on the other side of the road where his car overturned and crushed him. He died the next day. It happened just like Mr. Whiz predicted. This fulfilled prophecy converted my mother from skeptical to believer in the occult. She wasn't aware that Mr. Whiz was working with demonic spirits. She knew nothing about spiritual things. All she knew was that he predicted an event months away, and it came true as he said. How did he do it? He used a deck of playing cards and asked my mother to shuffle them. After she had done so, he told her what he saw. Actually, he saw nothing. My mother did not impart any knowledge of her future with the cards. that was all a ruse. Mr. Wiz was listening to familiar spirits who told him what to say. What are familiar spirits, and how do they see the future? God has a team of created beings under him called angels. Satan, a created being, has beings under him called demons. God and all created spiritual beings are spirits. Spirit beings are not time-oriented as we are. We see the past as being behind us. We are in the present right now, and the future is ahead of us. It's linear. Spirits are not constrained to our perspective. They see time as a panorama. They can see the past, present, and future all at the same time. Time and space do not exist in the spirit world. That is why God was able to transport Philip to some place in the desert, in the spirit, to share this gospel with the Ethiopian eunuch. Familiar spirits are on Satan's lower rungs. They are assigned to families, perhaps for centuries in our time. They know all about everyone in that family, their past, present, and future, some of it. All Mr. Wiz had to do is to mentally tell the spirits that he works with who he wants information on, and while they are distracted with shuffling cards, his spirit helpers summon the familiar spirit for whomever. The purpose of a successful reading or seance is to cause the inquisitor to become dependent on the medium, as you will see with the rest of the story. After my father died, my mother enlisted a real estate company to sell our house. After 3 months, it was still on the market, and my mother was upset. She went to see Mr. Wiz again. He told her to fire the agent and sell it herself. He also suggested that she raise the price $3,000 and that she would sell the house in July, which was the following month. She did as she was told, and it happened just as Mr. Wiz said it would. My mother, who was not a spiritual person, had prayed for God to help her, and nothing happened. No miracles, nothing. She went to see a fortune teller, and you heard what happened. Now, I ask you, if you were spiritually ignorant, would you believe in God or fortune tellers? That is how the spiritual scam works. And it is a scam. Telling the future is not as easy as telling the present or the past. The future offers choices that can be drastically changed by the decisions we make or don't make. For instance, before I was a Christian, the Lord spoke to me 3 times with audible commands to do certain things. If I had delayed or refused, I would have died in the late 60s. Obviously, I am alive because I did what I was commanded to do. God knows for sure what our future will be, but I doubt if familiar spirits have that level of insight. That's why mediums get it wrong sometimes. I volunteered for the draft in 1966. The draft automatically put draftees in the Army, although some were put in the Marines. Before I volunteered, I went to see Mr. Wiz. He told me that I would go across the ocean for a year and that I was going to return home. He also told me that I would live to be 84 years old. Well, I did go across the Pacific to Vietnam. Because he told me I would return home, I volunteered to be a combat photographer. See how Satan's plan works? Suppose he had been wrong. I spent 1 year there in the Army Infantry. I returned home a year later without a scratch. According to Mr. Wiz, I have 5 more years left. That's okay with me. By then, the world will be chaotic and worrisome. I hope he was correct. In 1982, a few months after I became a Christian, I took my wife, who is also a Christian, to see Mr. Wiz. Each of us went in for a reading, but he had nothing that he could tell either one of us. He knew why, but we didn't. Our Holy Spirits interfered with his communication to our familiar spirits. We shrugged it off and shared our experience in Sunday school. We were told by our teacher that we should never do that again. The Bible speaks strongly about familiar spirits, a term used to describe demonic or occult entities that claim to communicate with or through humans, often impersonating the dead. Let's look at what the scriptures say about them. Leviticus 19:31. Give no regard to mediums and familiar spirits. Do not seek after them, to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 20, verse 6. And the person who turns to mediums and familiar spirits to prostitute himself with them, I will set my face against that person and cut him off from his people. Leviticus 20, verse 27. A man or woman who is a medium or who has a familiar spirit shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. I know these verses were from the Old Testament, but they still apply to us. Here's one from the New Testament, 1 Timothy 4, verse 1. Now the Spirit expressly says that in latter times some will depart from the faith, giving heed to deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. Well, those are my experiences with fortune-telling and familiar spirits. Not too ghoulish. Next week, I will tell you how Satan tried to lure me into his service by giving me clear, lifelike visions as I peered into the future. I hope you tune in. Thank you for listening.